Many of you have probably read a book or watched a movie in which an individual was in the hospital waiting for a transplant. If you haven't seen a movie like this, or you haven't read a book, maybe you even knew someone. Just imagine the way they felt waiting each day, hoping to be able to continue their life, waiting for that organ. This is a serious problem in the United States. In my speech, I will be trying to convince you to become an organ donor. First, we will talk about what is organ donation. According to the United States National Library of Medicine, organ donation is when you take a healthy organ from one individual and transplant it into another. Typically, we think of larger organs such as kidney, hearts, and lungs. However, it also includes other things such as bones, skin, and other organs. Now, typically, most donations occur after an individual has died. However, some do take place while the individual is still living. There's definitely a high need for organ donors. Every 10 minutes in the United States, someone is added to the wait list. Now, just for a second, I would like you to imagine being in that position, sitting in the hospital waiting, each day becoming more hopeless. Without this organ, you will not live. You won't be able to continue your life. You'll have to leave behind your friends and family, and they won't be able to do anything about it. That statistic that said that an individual is added every 10 minutes to the wait list was from the United States Department of Health and Human Resources. Also, based on the United States Department of Health and Human Resources, each day an average of 79 individuals receives an organ through transplantation. However, 22 die waiting each day. As we just discussed, this is an awful tragedy, waiting for that organ. However, by becoming a donor, you can reduce these numbers. Imagine, just by signing up to become a donor, being able to save the lives of those who have to sit each day wanting and waiting hopelessly for that organ. Next, we will look at some statistics that come from a journal in the Rhode Island Medicine Journal. These statistics show the percentage of recipients that were still alive 5 years later after receiving an organ donation. 92% of those who received a kidney were still alive 5 years later. 76.8% of those who received a heart were still alive. 87.3% were still alive if they received a liver, and 55.2% were still alive after receiving a lung. We can see that obviously if this individual were to get the organ, they have a high chance of being able to continue their life and live happily. However, the difference is just by receiving that organ, it's either they live or they die. And that is why we need more organ donors today. In 2010, almost 2.5 deaths occurred in the United States. Now just imagine how many people that is, and if each of those people who died were to become an organ donor. One thing I would like to stress in this speech is that many of us feel very uncomfortable thinking about our own deaths. It's not something we like to think about. However, we all are mortal beings and it will happen one day. And so just by signing up, we will be able to save the lives of others who do need it, who don't have a chance to live without the organs that they need. Next, we will look at why people don't like to become an organ donor. Clearly, there are reasons that people wouldn't want to do it, as there are so many people dying each day on the waiting list for these organs. Some of the common beliefs based on the Mayo Clinic Journal are that they're under the age of 18, so they say they can't become an organ donor. However, there are several solutions to this. One, your parent or guardian is able to sign you up to become an organ donor. If we think about this, adults are not the only ones that need organ donations. Children do need organs at some time, and so that's why it's important for children to understand that it is also important for them to become organ donors. However, it does rely on their parent or guardian to sign off on this. Another reason that people might think that they can't become an organ donor is because they don't feel like they are healthy enough. However, based on the Mayo Clinic, there are very few medical conditions that completely disqualify a person from being able to become a donor. So that's why it's important to go ahead and sign up, because in that time, when it does come down to that, it's more important to be able to be a donor and have a chance that you could save all these lives instead of just saying, oh, I'm not healthy enough and not signing up and not even giving it a chance. because there are so many people that are relying on people like you to help them out to continue their lives. Another belief is that if you sign up to be an organ donor, the doctors aren't going to try to save me because they're going to use my organs to save someone else. However, this is not true at all. In the event that you are suffering or dying, the doctors are going to do everything they can to save your life. Being an organ donor will not change anything, and you will be looked at the best that they can do. Another belief is that if you become an organ donor, you won't be able to have an open casket. However, again, this is untrue. Organ donation does not affect your ability to have any kind of open casket funeral because there are no visible signs that your organs were removed and given to another individual. Next, we will look at what you can do to help these lives. We've discussed how much the need is. There is such a big need for it. People are dying on this wait list every day, and we've looked at the myths, I guess, of why people wouldn't want to become it and how they're untrue. So next, I'm going to tell you, you need to make the decision to become an organ donor today. All you have to do is find on your state's website how to register, and usually that becomes something that you do with the License Bureau. And just by registering, you can save or enhance 50 lives. And so many of us today are always looking for a way to help. How can I help people? What can I do? And just by signing up to become an organ donor, you're having such a big impact on people's lives, because once something happens to you, we don't like to think about it, but once you've passed, if you sign up to be an organ donor, you're helping so many people be able to continue your life that are relying on it, because without you, they're also not able to continue their life. Another thing I would urge you to do is, if you become an organ donor, is just inform others. And one way I'm doing that is just by giving this speech, but it's important for people to understand that organ donation is such a big thing that we need, because if you don't necessarily know someone who's been through this, or you're not very familiar with it, it's not something that crosses our mind very much. It's not, in the media, whatever. So it's important that we inform others of it, just so they're aware of how important this is in our lives. And also, I would recommend that if you do make the decision to become an organ donor, you're comfortable with it and you're willing to say, hey, I'm an organ donor, and you convince other people to do the same, because it is such a great decision that you're making, and you're really making such a big difference in our world today. And I just want you to focus on some of the statistics we talked about earlier. There's such a high with our medical, technology today, that if they do get the organ, they're most likely going to live. Those statistics of 5 years later were so high that if they have the resources, if they have the organs, they're probably going to live. So what we're short here is donors, and that's what I'm urging you to become today. Again, talking about making the decision, basically the article of organ donation and donors is saying that right now they're trying to just get people to spread the word, because it's something, again, that I said we don't discuss very much. And another article that I looked up on is called How You Can Help, and it again urged the thing of taking action, taking that step, as well as talking to other people about it, because it's such a big important thing in our lives. So through this speech, I discussed what organ donation is, the transplantation of one organ from one individual through the other, including heart, lungs, liver, skin and bones. Typically we may not think of, however, that is something it includes. And there's such a high need for organs. There's people putting on the wait list as well as dying every day. So I urge you to take action and you to sign up today, because just by making that one decision, you could save up to 50 lives today. Thank you.